not attempt to adjust your dial. Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. It's your boy Big Vern. This is App Stupid, the fastest growing sports and entertainment show on these YouTube streets. You're welcome. Holla at us. Back around again. What goes around comes back again. Man, Stunt Doogie, are you with me? Grand Poobah. Shout out to Brand Nubians and shout out to Grand Poobah. Yo, that dude was so hot back in the day. He had dudes wearing backpacks. They didn't even go to school. They was just rocking backpacks. Yo, shout out to them. Backspin's gonna drop today too, so that's pretty dope. Yo, this is Big Vern at App Stupid. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. Hit the subscribe button. We talked about the Duke Blue Devils. They released their non-conference schedule. They got 4 teams on there really good, which would be Arizona, Kansas, Illinois, and Auburn. However, one of them's not even a rivalry because Kentucky, they put that in there, but they've always beaten Kentucky. And I don't think Mark Pope is ready for that kind of game just yet in his young coaching career, but we'll see. We'll see. It's still early. So we're going to go ahead and pivot from college basketball. We're going to talk some NFL football. Not a specific team, but a person. We're going to talk about Carson Wentz. Now, to me, Carson Wentz has always been average. It's not a knock on him. It's not an indictment against his skill set. He has always been average to me. And I think he would agree with everybody that him trying to prove he belonged in the NFL is what led to a lot of his injuries. But make no mistake about it, this dude was human oatmeal and shoulder pads. This dude is so bland and vanilla. I mean, when you analyze his game and the breakdown, he doesn't really scramble really well. He has bad feet in the pocket. He holds on to the ball way too long. And now he's second guessing himself on all of his throws. And so if the Kansas City Chiefs cut him, is this the end of Carson Wentz? And that's a legitimate question. Because remember, not too long ago in the distant past, Carson Wentz was talked about as the savior of Philadelphia in 2016. He had 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, with 3,782 yards. And that was a good season for him. He announced that he was on the scene. In 2017, 3,296 yards, along with 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Again, he was establishing himself. These numbers, his touchdown to interception ratio in 2017, that's growth. That's them and his maturation process working out. A lot of people like to point at Frank Reich and saying that, oh, he's a quarterback whisperer and blah, blah. No. It was not any of that. Now, Philadelphia, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. However, 2018 was his year. And you can argue that. But that's another kind of sort of, because when you do that, Philadelphia fans like to throw out there, oh, if he wouldn't have got hurt, you all wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. Because when he got hurt, Nick Foles stepped in, aka the Tom Brady killer, and Nick Foles beat Tom Brady on the biggest stage to take home the biggest prize of them all. And if you go back and you look at Nick Foles' career, he actually has beaten Brady more times than most quarterbacks have. That guy just knows how to beat Tom Brady. We all have that guy in our life. Don't worry. That's just how that happens. In 2019, that was Foles' most impressive season. And his stat line was 4,039 yards, 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Now let that sink in. Now, We're going to spin the block. I'm going to park that car. We're going to spin the block and we're going to go ahead and give it to you like it is. If you're saying that this dude who's never thrown for over 4,500 yards and has never had 30 touchdowns in a season, but somehow this guy was looked at as all MVP, all honors, he is good. Dak Prescott threw for 5,000 yards last year and 35 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. You can't tell me when people start shitting on Dak and you try to uplift this dude who is the epitome of mediocrity, somehow what that guy did isn't good enough. I don't understand. It is all cowboy hate from the 90s. I understand you hated John Madden and Pat Summerall sucking off Elway, sucking off Aikman and Mike Lervin and Emmitt Smith. We get it. They were always on TV. Moose Johnston and those guys. Yeah, it is what it is. But Dak Prescott is the goods. Now I'm going to park that car and get back into our regular scheduled program. Carson Wentz, you were saying, Vern? His most impressive season was 2019. But the Eagles didn't make it back to the NFC title game, much less win the Super Bowl. In the following year, 2020, they drafted Jalen Hurts, and that shot his confidence. And we'll get into much more when we take a quick 20 from an unofficial sponsor of the program. This is Big Vern. Drop the spot. Yes, Taco Bell, Live Más. Live Más Taco Bell. Order online, download the app, or visit the good folks at your local Taco Bell. Taco Bell, Live Más. So when we last left off, we were talking about Carson Wentz's his confidence being shot because the Philadelphia Eagles, they saw the writing on the wall and they went after Jalen Hurts in the draft. Now, fair warning, I was telling people on Facebook, but when I was on Facebook, I'm no longer on Facebook or any social platform. But I was telling people back when Jalen Hurts was in the draft and they wanted to talk about Tua and all these other guys. I was like, wait a minute. Jalen Hurts has been in the national championship 3 out of the 4 years he's been in college in 2 different systems. And he's still been able to get to almost the biggest stage and win the prize. I don't understand what the disdain for this kid was. And when he started winning in Philadelphia, it was almost like people were like, hey man, you called it. I don't know why man, look, I watch college football. I watch college sports. And I can tell you, I do enough deep dives to look and see who's in the organization. How they're going to work with this kid, how his process is going to be streamlined, and then boom, you'll get the finished product. But yeah, Philadelphia had seen enough of Carson Wentz, and they knew what it was. And when I say it messed with his confidence, it did mess with his confidence. Because that dude, that year, he threw for 2,620 yards. 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And then they benched him, and the rest was history. Yep, they benched him, and the rest was history. Another thing that may turn some teams off about Carson Wentz is his injury docket. Because he's had a plethora of injuries. And if you are unclear about the injuries that Carson Wentz has had, we'll go through them. Because in 2015, that was his rookie year. He broke a bone in his throwing hand that required surgery. In 2016, hairline fracture to his rib cage in the Tampa game. 2017, torn knee ACL, which was a grade 3 tear. That cut his season short, and he didn't make a comeback until week 3 of 2018. That same 2018, he had a back injury, and he missed the last 3 games of the season, but the back injury didn't require him to have surgery. 2020, you forget 2019 is when his stat sheet fell apart and his confidence. 2020, grade 1 concussion that came in a wild card loss for the Eagles. They later traded him as he had one of the worst seasons ever. And in Philadelphia, he had that ridiculous stat line of 2,620 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 picks. Again, all of these injuries, they start to pile up. He's not a spring chicken. He's not a spring chicken at all. 2021, foot injury in the Colts training minicamp. They caused him valuable reps in the preseason. He proceeded to play on a grade 3 ankle sprain from week 2 throughout the season. His time with the Colts was the last time he threw over 2,000 yards. 12 TDs. His year was productive at 3,563 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. 2022, the finger fracture on the throwing hand. He was placed on IR in week 6. His time in Washington was okay. Nothing eye-catching. 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. 2023, bicep strain, played through the injury with the Rams. You've seen his production fall off a cliff that season. 163 yards total, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And is this a guy you want to go after? Forget being a starter in this league. He's not even a dependable backup. This dude is not even a backup or a third quarterback on the depth chart. I don't know where you go with this. I don't know how you keep this dream alive. This dude is 31. His stats have gotten progressively worse. He's got a laundry list of injuries. And at this point, if you take him, you got to pay him the league minimum. Nobody should be giving this guy $1 million for anything whatsoever. And it's not sad to see it. He just never belonged here anyway. He was too small. But you had Todd McScam, and then you had Mel Weirdo Kiper sitting out here, Dracula. You're sitting out here telling people that this is a can't miss. You don't know anything about this guy. You might not have watched him in college football, but we know his skill set, and we've seen him at the combine. And look at him. Look at him. It's awful to see this. Nobody wants to look at this, as this is the end of him. We're dropping a quick rap album, then we'll be back on it. This is Big Vern. Drop the spot. Yo, this your boy Big Vern. Ba-da-bum-bum-bum. We got another rap album, 38 Special, in stores now. Mother and the Gun. Get it where you legally consume music, whether it's Apple Music, Google Play, or Spotify. I got the favorites on here, Early Morning, Had It Coming, Special Methods, and many more. 38 Special, in stores now. Yeah, shout out to 38 Special, Mother and the Gun. I love that LP. Been banging that this past weekend. Back on Carson Wentz. This dude is in his early 30s. His career has been maligned by injury after injury. His stat line has really went down. He's had all kind of surgeries on his throwing hand. And if you get cut right now by Kansas City, you've had a good run. You've made some good money. It's time for you to do something else. It's just not going to work out for you. Every year, the defensive players they draft are getting bigger, faster, stronger. You're getting older. Those hits are getting much more ferocious. Your body's healing at a rate slower and slower and slower. You can't recover from those. Again, do what you want with that. But yeah, I'm going to pose this question and you all leave the comments. If Kansas City gets rid of Carson Wentz, is this the end of him? Is this the end of Carson Wentz as we know it? Because I don't think that he makes it. Let me know something. This is Big Vern.